Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux here with a stakes preview. We're going to look at this Saturday at Santa Anita Park. Their third race is the Fasig Tipton Debutante 5 furlongs on the dirt. A compact field of two-year-old fillies here going postward, but you can see two of them short prices. Kind of maybe a battle here between the number 1 Becky's Dream and the 4 Crazy Hot. It's an interesting field with these two-year-old stakes races. You look at this group, you have 2 first-time starters and you have 3 other horses that all won at first asking. So let's dive right into it. Mentioned the number 1 Becky's Dream going to take respect in here. This is a 2-year-old daughter of City of Light who will show her debut performance. She earned a very big buyer speed figure of an 80 for this effort. She draws alongside here the number 4 She's My Niece and is just going to blow by her in the stretch here. You can see a little bit of tail swishing as she's kind of digging deep here in the stretch, but I thought Tiago Pereira gave this horse a really good ride. I had her in a good position. She was not the fastest from the gate, but she wins pretty easy here under a hand ride. Going to draw clear by over 3 lengths. She seems to be working well since that race. And just looking at the Hector Palma, kind of statistics here, they do really well with horses that won last time out. They're very good with 2-year-olds as well, which it's not the case for all trainers. To see that they have them ready to kind of roll at first asking and then have that kind of ability to repeat. Something to note, I mentioned the buyer speed figure. And just looking at the pedigree here, City of Light's about 16% with 2-year-olds, which is a pretty strong number. And then on the bottom side, Corporate Queen is the dam. She's a daughter of Colonel John, and she was able to break her maiden at the 7 furlong distance. So, a lot of these 2-year-old races, you start at 4.5 and you gradually stretch out. I think she's the type that probably we're going to see, can go further throughout her career. We'll move on to the number 2 motet. This one out of the Ruben Gomez barn. He's actually going to send out the pair here of those first-time starters, the 2 and the 5. Looking at the pedigree here, this is a daughter of Motown on the bottom side, on the mare side. All but 1 foal to race have been winners so far. The barn, though, not necessarily known to have them kind of cranked at first asking, and she is going against horses that ran very well on their debut and were able to graduate. She's got a string of just those 4 workouts we can see published in those last 4, and they're all pretty similar. Nothing too kind of striking to stand out there. And I'm just wondering if this is maybe a launching point for her to see kind of what caliber she is, and maybe they'll kind of regroup based on this effort. The number 3 Grand Slam Smiles, 6-1 on the morning line, and she's intriguing from a pedigree standpoint, but she's also intriguing because of her most recent race. So let's take a look at the replay first. This is that Golden Gate going 4.5 there on this synthetic, and she went off favorite in here, but it was kind of a nice performance here, the way she was able to just kind of draw clear in here and kick on, and she looks like she's doing it pretty easily. We saw her flicker ears a little bit. I'm going to continue to glide home. Now, looking at this race, several horses have come back, and just looking at the 2nd and 3rd place finishers that were kind of making up ground light, they came back to graduate in their next start. So I think that's a really positive sign. Her race was just over a month ago, so it's been nice to see those horses kind of come out of that and they've been able to graduate. And I will say she's working very well. Now those works though at Golden Gate, so it'll be interesting to see her on the dirt. But the barn off to a really good start in 2023. Very big 2-year-old numbers. And I mentioned the pedigree here. The mare was a 2-time winner in herself, but in terms of being a producer, you don't see kind of this too often. 8 for 8 in terms of her foals. They've all been winners, but their race records combined a 26% win percentage. So I thought that was something to note. And this is a half to Slam Dunk Session, who's been a pretty interesting horse. He's 14 for 34 in his career. So he's kind of making up a lot of those wins in that record. But it was a nice performance from Grand Slam Smile. Move on to the 4 Crazy Hot, who is that kind of lukewarm morning line favorite in here. Daughter of Golden Sense. Now, we're going to show her graduation score on debut. She faced those state-bred fillies going 4.5, and she had the outside post in here, which sometimes can be really tough for 2-year-olds because they don't have a horse next to them to kind of keep them focused and keep them in line out of the gate. But she handled it really nicely and just opens up on this field and is still pretty professional in the stretch. I always get worried too when you have a 2-year-old or a younger horse, when they don't have any company on the front end, they can get lost. They can kind of get green and show things. But I thought she was very professional, earned a 72 buyer speed figure. And I think she's got a huge shot in this race. She's going to be a short price. She's going to take respect off of all those things that we saw on debut. And then rounding out in the field is the other runner for trainer Ruben Gomez. It's the number 5 Stormy Gal. Pedigree to me suggests turf kind of all the way through. It's a Get Stormy. He's 3% in general, also with just 2-year-old first-time starters. But his resume was all turf. A lot of his offspring have taken to the surface. And even on the bottom, just looking at the dam and looking at the mare side of things and seeing how she's produced, a lot of her horses have fared well on the turf. So I didn't love the dirt pedigree here. The works for the stablemate I thought were a tad sharper. So probably a wait and see for Stormy Gal, and maybe wait to see her on a different surface. But that's the field of 5. in the Fasig Tipton Debutante. And looking at this group, I had to give it to the number 4, Crazy Hot. I thought she was just so professional in her debut. She had things that could have gone against her as being kind of lonely in the stretch or having that outside draw. And she just showed a touch of class and a lot of professionalism. So I use her on top. Her main rival, also not shocking, Becky's Dream. Just a really big effort, and I liked that she wasn't the quickest out of the gate necessarily, and she had to draw alongside competition this stretch and was just really able to cruise home nicely. And then to round it out, also the 3, Grand Slam Smile. I mentioned the pedigree. She raced very well on her debut. The question for her, though, will be the dirt. So I think the 4 and the 1 have the edge, and I just loved what I saw from Crazy Hot and looking forward to seeing her against stakes competition this Saturday.